Welcome to this explainer. Look, today we're going to break down the exact scripts and the underlying legal chain of thought for navigating two wildly different traffic stop scenarios. We're drawing straight from a comprehensive 50-state guide on your rights during traffic stops, and we're zeroing in on two specific situations that perfectly capture the extreme ends of the spectrum you might face out on the road.
We all know the feeling, right? Seeing those flashing red and blue lights in the rearview mirror triggers instant panic for pretty much anyone. But here's the absolute critical thing to understand. Your success in that encounter completely depends on diagnosing exactly what type of stop you're in the second it happens. Your response literally cannot be driven by anxiety. It has to be driven by a clear, confident understanding of the law.
So today, we're contrasting a low-stakes administrative stop against a high-stakes constitutional stop, and these require completely opposite approaches. A minor administrative stop, that needs immediate accountability to de-escalate things, but a constitutional stop requires you to firmly and politely assert your Fourth Amendment rights. It just goes to show there is absolutely no one-size-fits-all script when you're dealing with law enforcement. Okay, let's dive into this.
Scenario A, the seatbelt stop, an administrative encounter. To really grasp your legal standing in this super common encounter, we first need to get a handle on how seatbelt laws are actually enforced across the country. 49 states have seatbelt enforcement laws. New Hampshire is the lone outlier for adults. Now, in states with primary enforcement, an officer can pull you over just for seeing you driving without a belt. But in secondary enforcement states, they actually have to pull you over for something else, like speeding, and then they tack the seatbelt citation on top of it. Now, the psychological and tactical reasoning here is honestly fascinating. Your absolute first instinct when you see those lights is probably to quickly grab your seatbelt and snap it in before the officer gets to your window. Do not do this. Why? Because the officer has already observed the violation. I mean, that's literally why they're stopping you. If you start reaching across your body for the belt as they walk up, to the officer, that sudden movement appears highly suspicious, deceptive, and potentially dangerous. You are basically escalating the physical tension of the entire encounter over a really minor ticket. So the crucial takeaway here is knowing your exact script. When the officer asks about the seatbelt, you simply say, "I apologize, officer, I forgot to put it on." That's it. Stop talking. This specific, rote phrase is highly effective because it's honest, it takes immediate responsibility, and most importantly, it completely avoids offering any additional incriminating information or making up some wild excuse that the officer is specifically trained to see right through. You've got to remember the context of the situation, because this is merely an administrative issue in the vast majority of states. It usually just carries a minor fine and 0 points on your license. By offering immediate accountability with that simple script, you immediately de-escalate the situation, you project cooperation, and you speed up the whole process so you can get back on your way.
Scenario B, the trunk search, a targeted consent request.
Now, imagine your routine traffic stop suddenly pivots, and the officer specifically asks to look inside your trunk. The stakes just skyrocketed. But why? Well, think about the 4 exceptions to the Fourth Amendment warrant requirement. If an officer asks to search your trunk and they haven't arrested you, they don't have probable cause, and they haven't seen anything illegal sitting in plain view, they are relying entirely on the consent exception. They're asking because they legally do not have the authority to pop your trunk without your permission. To understand the chain of thought for how we handle this curveball, we have to rewind to the precedent set by the Supreme Court in the 1991 case, Florida v. Gimeno. This case is basically the bedrock of how consent searches operate during traffic stops, and it completely dictates how you must communicate with law enforcement when your vehicle is involved. So, here's the legal reality and the chain of thought you really need to internalize. Under Florida v. Gimeno, if an officer asks, "Hey, do you mind if I look around your car?" and you just say, "Sure," that general consent to search your vehicle legally extends to areas within it. And yes, that automatically includes the trunk. Consent, once it's given freely, is incredibly difficult to walk back entirely. So many people accidentally waive their rights here just because they're trying to be polite. Therefore, your specific word choice is absolutely vital. You must verbally limit or straight up refuse the search to protect your privacy. When the trunk is specifically mentioned, or even if you just feel the search is heading in that direction, this is the exact rote line you must memorize. "Officer, I do not consent to a search of my trunk." You don't need to physically block access. You don't need to jump out of the car and guard your bumper. You just simply need to deliver this line calmly and clearly to assert your Fourth Amendment protections. A verbal refusal is legally sufficient. But hey, what if you already agreed to a general search out of sheer nervousness? Let's be real. It happens all the time. People freeze up, they want to be helpful, and boom, they accidentally waive their rights. If that happens, you need to pivot immediately.
Because legally speaking, your consent is not a permanent contract. Consent can be limited, and it can actually be withdrawn at any time before the search is completed.
If you find yourself needing to backpedal to stop an officer from popping the trunk, deploying this exact phrase is your emergency brake. I am withdrawing my consent. I do not consent to further search of my vehicle, including the trunk. Saying this creates an immediate verbal record that limits the scope of the search and protects your constitutional rights from that very moment forward.
So, we've looked at two totally different scenarios today. One requires you to just take your lumps, admit you forgot your seatbelt, and safely accept a small administrative fine. The other requires you to stand firm on decades of Supreme Court precedent to protect your Fourth Amendment rights. The scripts we covered are simple, but the stakes in the moment are incredibly high. The preparation you do today is literally the protection you have tomorrow. So the ultimate question is, are you ready to speak wisely the next time you hear a siren?